Coach, appreciate you taking the time to join us. I want to start asking about, I mean, you had such this remarkable run at the end of the season, 6 straight wins, 4 against ranked teams, including blowouts against Oklahoma and A&M. But you started the year 3-3. Was there a moment in the season where you kind of felt like things were shifting? Can you recall a moment where you said, I think we're going to turn this thing around?
I look back, obviously we got off to a great start, beating Kentucky week 2, going 2-0, and then a really heartbreaking loss against LSU, and then a heartbreaking loss at Alabama where we lose by 2 points. And you saw progress during a lot of that time, but we just weren't playing great winning football consistently enough. So honestly, Adam, for me, it was probably in the locker room after the Alabama game. And there was very much a sense with our team that, enough's enough. And we're tired of feeling this way on Saturdays. And I came in here and I met with a lot of our leaders the next week and asked them kind of like where their minds were. And they all said to win out. There's no other option. And I said, well, that's great. But, we have to do the things that it takes to win football games more consistently than we're doing them right now. And we have. So it's a team that had high expectations all along, and we just weren't doing things consistently enough in my mind. We're playing good football, but it was a great example for all of our guys that in this league, it's a very small line, very thin line, margin of error between winning and losing, and we needed to do more of the things to be on the right side of it.
Coach, with that being said, none of us really knew what to expect with the college football playoff this year. When you start an expanded playoff, how does that sort of impact your messaging when maybe there is a part of the season that hasn't gone the way that you want it to?
Yeah, just that it's not like in years past where if you lost 1 or 2 games, you were out of it. That it was very likely that a 2-loss or 3-loss team was going to be in it. And when we lost to LSU in the third game of the season by 3 points at the end of the game, that we didn't play with our starting quarterback in the second half. It wasn't like the season's over. It was, okay, that's 1 loss, but that's not going to define the season. It's all going to be about where we go from here. And just being able to have that possibility, not just for us, but for all teams, that end goal still being a possibility all the way to right now is a huge part of the message. And that, we're still alive for everything. All of our goals are still in front of us, but we have to do the things that we have to do to win games so we can put ourselves in position going forward.
Coach, one of the cool things is you're winning with South Carolina guys on your team. I mean, your post-game speech where you talked about the University of South Carolina was awesome. And Sellers tweeting our state after the game. I think it was really cool. You're clearly coaching guys who want to be there. How special is that to coach a team that has so many guys from your home state?
Yeah, rivalry games are special, but when you have so many guys from that state on your team, it's extra special. And I saw that when I was here before as an assistant coach, Adam, with Steve Spurrier. We, won at the highest level because of primarily state of South Carolina guys. Whether it be, Stephon Gilmore or Alshon Jeffrey or DJ Swearinger or Marcus Lattimore. I can go on and on and on. All the great players from South Carolina that were here when I was here. Jadeveon Clowney came in as I was leaving. And that's what, from day one when I got here, it was we were going to do this thing with South Carolina football players. And we've been able to do that. And it was pretty cool. I mean, you think about it, we're starting a redshirt freshman quarterback in Lenoris. He's from South Carolina. We're starting a true freshman left tackle in Josiah Thompson. He's from South Carolina. We're starting a true freshman wide receiver in Mazio Bennett. He's from South Carolina. And, you look over there defensively, South Carolina guys all along the defensive line, Boogie Huntley, Tonka Hemingway, TJ Sanders. And that's really, really cool to be able to do that with in-state guys. Judge Collier, our starting corner from South Carolina. Both of our safeties, DQ Smith and Nicky Manwari, South Carolina guys. Our place kicker that hit the game-winning field goal, our long snapper, all South Carolina guys. So there's great players everywhere. There's a lot of players across the country that want to come play football at South Carolina now because of what we've done. But for us, it'll always start with recruiting this state.
I was thinking about how when we sat down, Coach, I think it was 2 summers ago, talked for like an hour about how you were building this program and the challenges at the time, where you wanted it to be. And it's cool to think now, 2 years later, that you guys are on the brink of the college football playoff, won 6 straight. During that last couple of years, how much has it looked like what you thought it would look like? What were the challenges during that time? Kind of reflect on that journey since you took this job.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming a couple of years ago. We got to get you back for sure so we can sit down and do part 2 without a doubt. I think we've been on track. Certainly if you look at the preseason expectations, we overachieved in 2021 and 2022. And, 2023 wasn't as bad as maybe people outside this program thought it was. We went 5-7, but for me, that wasn't really a setback in that, other than the record. We went 5-7. We didn't go to a bowl game last season. It wasn't good enough. But when you take a step back and you really dig a little bit deeper, you're able to see why that happened. And we had double-digit season-ending injuries to key contributors. We started 9 different starting lineup combinations on the offensive line in our first 9 games because of injury last year. We started 5 true freshmen. And after all that, we showed the culture of this program. We were 2-6 at one point, and then won 3 in a row, beat Kentucky, got it to the last game against Clemson, and we came up 9 points short. But if you win that game against Clemson, the narrative all of a sudden becomes, man, the Gamecocks, they had all these injuries. They found a way to fight to the end. They got bowl eligible. What a performance. Well, it wasn't that. We lost the game. We went 5-7, but I knew we weren't that far off. So that was probably the biggest challenge, just dealing with some of the adversity that we faced in 23. But because we went through that, I truly believe that we were more connected, we were closer, and we were even more well-suited for 2024 because of what we brought back and the shared struggle of what we went through as a program in 2023.
All right, so Coach, you're the hottest team in the country. Everybody's talking about it. The College Football Playoff Committee is going to decide who goes to this thing. If you were walking in the room and giving your pitch, what would you say to the College Football Playoff Committee right now when they're trying to figure out if South Carolina is a playoff team?
I would say that if your job is to truly pick the 12 best teams, it's hard to argue that we are not one of the 12 best teams in the country right now. And I realize that we have 3 losses, and I know that we had some losses early in the season. I get that. But when you say take the records out of it, it's got to matter who you play. And our strength of schedule is right up there in the tops of the country. And the fact that we've won 6 in a row, there's not a hotter team in the country in my mind. And not just winning 6 in a row, but who we've won those against. I think we have 4 wins this season against teams that were ranked at the time we played them. We just went on the road and beat what may end up being the ACC champion in their stadium in a quote-unquote playoff, elimination type game in a lot of ways. And I just look at it as a coach. If I said this in the post-game press conference on Saturday, if you're another team in this country and the brackets come out on Sunday and the Gamecock logo pops up on Sunday, that's your first-round opponent, I don't think there's a lot of coaches that would be excited having to face us. And that's not being arrogant. That's just like truth. I mean, we've got a defense that's playing lights out right now. We got a quarterback that's playing as well as anyone in the country. We're good on special teams. We're playing our best ball down the stretch. We're a different team than what we were early in the season. We've got 2 losses by a total of 5 points. And one of those losses, our starting quarterback didn't even play in the second half. So if you're going to say last year that injuries are a part of it because you kept Florida State out last season because of an injury to their quarterback, then to me, you got to look at injuries this year as well. And waste debate the way we were playing against LSU when Lenoris got hurt. It's hard to say that we don't go on and play really well in the second half against those guys earlier in the season.
How tough is it though? Even in an expanded playoff, you still have to plead your case. Like, it's not like a situation where all of a sudden you just stand up and say, hey, we made the college football playoff. Like, it feels like even in a 12-team playoff, you still don't necessarily always control your own destiny. How tough is that for you as a coach? How tough is that for your kids as players?
Yeah, it is. We put ourselves in this position where you do have to plead the case, that we do have to plead the case because we had some losses earlier in the season, and I understand that. But, it's expected when the playoff expanded, when it was a 4-team playoff, teams 5 and 6 had a gripe about why they deserved to be in, but there usually wasn't much past that. But then once you go to 12 teams, it wasn't like it was going to clear it up. It was only going to increase the number of teams that have legitimate points about why they should be in the playoffs. So I knew it was going to be that way. We just happened to be one of them. And the committee's got a tough job. I mean, it's a lot of really good teams out there, and they all have great resumes. But I know this. I mean, I believe in the people in this program and believe in our team, and know that we're certainly playing our best football down the stretch. And that's ultimately the committee's job, is to pick the 12 best teams. And you look at who we've lost to and when we lost to them and how we lost to them. We've overcome that and certainly have learned from it and are better than we have been at any point this season.
Coach, as a former coach, I was thinking today about what your week looks like when you're kind of on the bubble. How are you approaching it when you don't really know what your future looks like? Do you still practice, normal meeting schedule? What's that look like during this waiting period?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Adam. It's something that I started thinking about 2 weeks ago and really 3 weeks ago, just kind of planning out what not just this week, but the whole month of December looks like, because it's different this year from when you were coaching, because one, we as coaches, we're not allowed to go out on the road recruiting at all this month. Normally you play Clemson like we did on Saturday, you're in the office for a few days, then you hit the road recruiting for 2.5, 3 weeks. Well, we don't have that this year, which is different. And signing day is in 2 days. Signing day is earlier than it's ever been. So you're navigating changes in the calendar also with the uncertainty of not knowing if you're playing in 2 weeks or playing in a bowl game in a month. But so what we did is, certainly it's been a long year, physically, mentally. We've been in quote unquote playoff elimination games ever since we lost to Alabama, and we were 3-3. So I feel like we've been in our own playoff the last 6 weeks, having to win football games. So I wanted to let our guys refresh a little bit. So we gave everybody off yesterday, players, coaches, staff. We came in this morning, met as a team for a couple hours just to review the Clemson game, have some individual meetings, giving the players off again tomorrow just so they can kind of get away from things. And then we're going to come in this week, and regardless of whether we're in the playoff or a bowl game, you know this, you want to get better in the month of December. It's an extra spring practice for your young guys. So we're going to come in this week. We'll practice Wednesday. We'll lift on Thursday. We'll practice Friday, give the guys the weekend off. And then on Sunday, we'll figure out, what's next. And then next week is either prep for the playoff game that'll be happening about 12 days later, or it'll be, normal bowl practices where it's kind of like an extra spring practice. So we've got a plan for both of them. And hopefully on Sunday we get news that we're playing in 2 weeks, and then we can get ready for a playoff game.
I wanted to ask about Lenoris Sellers, your quarterback, who's been so dynamic throughout this season. And I was thinking about his journey and the fact that he got to sit behind Spencer Rattler and develop for a little bit and learn from a veteran quarterback who's seen a lot of college football. How important has that been for him this season, in an era especially where there's so much immediate gratification? If I don't play right away, I'm going somewhere else, that he was able to kind of learn for a year? Yeah,
it was huge. When we signed him, Spencer hadn't made his decision yet on whether he was going to come back or not for his 2023 season.
Yeah.
Thankfully he did. And then that allowed Lenoris to sit in that room with Spencer for an entire year, because Lenoris graduated high school early, so he was here in January, went through spring practice, went through the season, saw Spencer handle the ups and downs of 2023. And very much like when I was at Oklahoma with Spencer came in as a true freshman and sat behind Jalen Hurts for a year. So he was able to learn from Jalen, watch Jalen handle the ups and downs of our season at Oklahoma. Thankfully, there were a lot of ups because we played in the playoff that year. But Spencer learned from Jalen, and I think it was really beneficial for Spencer. And there's no question it was beneficial for Lenoris to not just watch Spencer and learn from him, but Spencer being able to pour into Lenoris. They're extremely close. Spencer was here last weekend or 2 weekends ago for our Wofford game. And then Lenoris to be able to, go through a year in this system with Dow Loggins, our offensive coordinator, and learn the offense and be that much more prepared for 2024 once Spencer left, and it was Lenoris' time to really kind of take the reins.
But if we're being honest, there's at least a popular perception that modern college football players aren't as focused on development. They want to get on the field right away, and if they don't, they're going to go play somewhere else. For you, with your program, have you felt that? Do you see that? Does it change the way you sort of approach development with guys?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I was laughing with somebody about a week ago. I was thinking back to when my dad was the head coach at Virginia Tech, and he was recruiting Michael Vick. And Michael Vick's high school coach wanted anybody that recruited Michael to promise that they would redshirt him. He did not want Michael to play as a true freshman. And Virginia Tech agreed. He needs a year to develop and sit before he takes over. So that was 1998 was Mike's freshman year. And in 1998, we got down to our third quarterback because of injuries. Our starting free safety, who was a guy by the name of Nick Sorensen, who's actually the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers right now. Nick was our starting free safety, had been a high school quarterback. So we're down to our third quarterback in 1998. We're playing Boston College on a Thursday night up in Boston, and we had to move Nick from free safety to quarterback for that game because we didn't have a quarterback. And we had promised Mike and his high school coach that we would redshirt him. So Michael Vick's on the sidelines with a hat and a clipboard. Meanwhile, our starting free safety's playing quarterback in a meaningful Big East Conference game on ESPN on a Thursday night against BC. But it just goes to show, like, that would never happen in today's time. That one, they wouldn't have wanted him to redshirt, and if we had gotten down to our third quarterback and he wasn't playing, he probably would have bounced. But Mike stayed, and then the rest is history at Virginia Tech in his NFL career. And it's so different now. You're exactly right. But I think the thing that we try to do, Jason, is just be honest with guys, not just in the recruiting process about what it's going to look like when you get here, but just making sure that our guys understand their roles throughout the season. And you're not playing, but here's why. And if you want to play, here's what you need to do, and here's what we need to see. And not just telling them that when we're recruiting them, but throughout the year, just making sure there's constant communication and an open door, whether it be with me or the coordinators or the position coaches, where our guys know at all times where they stand. And I think as long as you're honest with guys and they know where they stand, everything's okay. And then in the end, there's going to be guys that want to go somewhere else and play, and will have more of an opportunity to play at another school maybe than here because they're a backup. And in those situations, wish them well. I mean, I've had some conversations with guys already that have come to me today just about, wanting to enter the portal just because they're a backup here and they want to go somewhere and be able to play more of a meaningful role. And I'm okay with that. I want everybody on our team to have a good experience in college at all times.
Coach, one thing that's certainly not talked about enough this season has been your defense. I mean, you guys ended third in the country in sacks and top 15 in scoring defense, rushing defense. What do you credit the jump in production for your defense from last year to this season?
I would say if you look back at us last season, Adam, we went through a 4-game stretch where we were awful. And we gave up a lot of points. We couldn't create any takeaways. But really the last 4 games of the season, we played some pretty good defense. And, we held Kentucky last year in game 11 to 14 points. We held Clemson. Clemson didn't score an offensive touchdown against us last year. They kicked 3 field goals. And the biggest thing is we took that momentum from last season, the way we finished. And the number one thing is we were able to keep our top guys here. We kept our top 3 defensive tackles. They came back. We kept our whole secondary intact. They came back, except for one guy, Marcellus Dial, that got drafted by the Patriots. And then we kept our, 2 of our top linebackers that were starters. They came back. And then, so we had a good core returning. But then what we were able to do is we knew we needed to get better at being able to affect the quarterback at the defensive end position, and bringing in Dylan Stewart, a true freshman, and Kyle Kennard to transfer. Those guys have been dynamic for us. Adding Demetrius Knight as a linebacker has been a huge addition for us in that room. So bringing the core back and adding 2 or 3 key pieces, and you see what we've been able to do this year on defense.
I mean, with that being said, because you're on this hot streak and because everybody's paying attention, do you feel sort of a difference in the interest in South Carolina going forward for people in the transfer portal and for recruiting in general?
Yeah. Trying to answer this the right way. Last year, you're 5-7, and you're trying to do everything in your power to make sure guys understood that the future is going in the right direction, meaning transfers coming in, high school kids, things like that as well. Now we're 9-3. We're arguably the hottest team in the country. You look at who we have coming back next year, the young talent returning. There's going to be high expectations for this team in 2025. And this is a place that a lot of people want to be a part of right now, whether it be high school recruits, whether it's other players in college that are hitting up our players about how much they love what we're doing. There's a lot of excitement about Gamecock football right now, and it's truly year to year, but it's a good position to be in that we're in right now.
Coach, final question for you. You've had some showcase matchups at home this year, and I think the world of college football got to see how special Williams-Brice Stadium is, what your fan base is like. How much has that fan support meant to you guys this season, especially, the slow start to 3-3 to now this win streak that they get to experience alongside you guys?
Yeah, unbelievable. And we've got a lot of freshmen that are here right now that are here because of the environment that Williams-Brice Stadium is on Saturdays and because of our fan base last year during a 5-7 season. Yeah. And then you just think about our fan base this year and what they did. Unbelievable. And we sold out every home game this season, whether we were playing Wofford or Akron or Old Dominion or SEC games. And they sold out every game. They showed up. They were loud, created an environment. We're about to sign a phenomenal recruiting class on Wednesday, and so much of it is because of guys that came and experienced a home game in Williams-Brice and said, I want to be a part of that environment because I don't think there's anywhere better in the country. So kudos to our fans, that's for sure.
Awesome, Coach. Always great to talk to you. Appreciate your time. I'm on record as I believe South Carolina is the best bubble team with the best resume, so I'm excited to see how it all plays out, but good luck.
Appreciate it, Adam. You know ball, my man, so keep banging the drum for us. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank y'all.
See ya.